So, hello everyone. Welcome to this Fireside Chat. The goal here is to have an informal conversation about the future of Android development. We're going to talk about a lot of things, and we invite you, the audience, to join us on Slido and ask us any question. Or if you want, you can just put your hands up, we'll throw you a microphone, and you can just ask us anything. Before we start, let me just say thank you for being here. I know that it's too early. It's the second day of a conference. So let's try to just move us a bit. So I'm going to ask everyone to give the biggest round of applause ever to our amazing speakers. So 1, 2, 3. Energy? Anyone needs coffee? Okay. Okay, so once again, thank you for being here. I'm going to start by introducing myself, and then I'm going to give the microphone to each one of them so you can know them a bit better. My name is Carlos Mota. I'm an Android developer. I've been developing for Android since Cupcake, that you can find somewhere on that picture. And recently, or for the past 5 years, so not so recently, I've been working with Kotlin multi-platform. I'm going to also give a talk next, so if you want to know more about KMP and Compose multi-platform, join me. Shameless advertisement.
Hey everyone, Ahmed Tekiwer. I am a software engineer, currently based in the Netherlands. I used to live in Cape Town in South Africa. I've been a software engineer probably since 2011, but for Android since 2015. I'm also a Google developer expert for Android. Yeah.
Hello everyone. Yeah, my name is Sasha Denisov. I'm based in Berlin. I work as a chief software engineer for EPAM systems, and I'm Flutter developer and used to be Android developer before. So I used to be C++ developer, then .NET developer, then Java backend developer, then Android developer, and finally Flutter. Yes, a long way to go. Yeah, but Android was in this list. Yeah. So I'm Google developer expert in Flutter, Dart, and Firebase. And yeah, what else? So mostly I'm working on fully cross-platform solutions with many platforms, and mobile, TV, web, everything.
I have already a microphone. My name is Sergio Sastre. I've been doing Android development for over 10 years. I'm based in Munich, working for Deutsche Bahn as a consultant, so I'm not intern there. And I'm also an Android GDE.
Hi folks, my name is John O'Reilly. I live in Galway in the west of Ireland. Work remotely for Crack Technology based in London. I've been doing Android development since about 2010. Working on both Android and iOS, I guess, over the last 15 years. Nowadays, doing mostly mobile KMP-based development, and also a GDE for Kotlin.
Hi, I'm Marcelo. I work in the Android X architecture components team at Google. I'm based in London. Yeah.
I'm Kinara. I'm based in Berlin, but I work in a company called IoKey in Frankfurt. It's a mobility company, part of Deutsche Bahn. I've been working in Android for about 7 years now, and yeah, I really enjoy doing Android with Compose and animations for the most part, also a lot of modularization. I think that's what I'm really interested in.
Morning everyone, my name is Julien Salvi, based in Paris. I'm a lead Android engineer for a company called Aircall. GDE for 3 years now, and that's basically it.
Now we're going to go to each one of you in the audience so we can know you better. Joking. So I've got here a cool tablet just so I can look a bit professional, and I'm going to start with a couple of questions so we can start our fireside chat. As I mentioned previously, you can have this QR code or access directly to Slido. I'm monitoring the questions, so feel free to ask us anything. So my first question, and here to introduce the topic, we're talking about the future of mobile development or the future of Android development, and I think it's important to also revisit the past. So we're Android developers for several years now, and I think it's important, and I'm going to
Speak there.
Okay. This usually happens at the end for me to shut up. So I'm going to start, I think with Julian had an amazing talk, I think it was last year, about 10 years of Android development. And let's revisit a bit the past and let's talk a bit about what each one of you prefer on Android development. What was the turning point for you where you felt, okay, Android is really for me, I love this technology and the future's changed. I can start a bit with this. For me, the turning point on Android first was when I realized that I wasn't the only one using the apps that I've developed, and it was a really cool feeling to see that I could just look to the other side of a place and see someone using my apps. But when my developer experience improved was when we switched from Eclipse to Android Studio, and I stopped renting towards my computer, and the development started to be easier. That was the turning point for me. Julian, what you felt that it was like the best feature that was out there that improved our lives as developers?
Well, that's a difficult question.
I know. I like to start it with
I've been around, started Android development in 2011. It was definitely not mature at that time with Eclipse, all the things but starting the Android development was quite straightforward. I had an Android phone and with small knowledge of Java, you can just build quite amazing things. But what changed really for me, I think the Kotlin, when it was officially in the system, definitely improved and was the starting point of so many good things. And also when Google released lots of compat libraries, it make our job much more easier than pulling a shady third-party libraries to do lots of things.
I don't know if I'm going to ask Sasha, do you want to say what was the best for Android development for you? This is a tricky question for him.
What's the best for Android? What?
The best feature that Google released for Android?
I was playing with AI on device, and probably one of the nice features that Google added to new Android is Gemini Nano that integrated to device already, and you don't need to upload your AI model yourself. Because in my opinion, now everything in mobile is moving to new type of interaction. So now is everything mostly based on UI interaction, kind of pull model when the user install application, pull it, and everything. But I suppose future of applications is mostly AI thing when AI will push user to do something. So from pull model to push model. Developing of AI on device is I think most important part now. But it's only Android thing. I suppose Apple also should do something, but we are at Android conference, yeah? We discuss Android only.
Okay, so we took 10 minutes to say the first time AI, okay? I was hoping that you were going to say Flutter. Okay, so Flutter wasn't the best thing.
Flutter is not related to Android, so that's why. Flutter is just UI toolkit on top of. So you asked what Google released for Android. So if Google released at all, in this case, yeah, but Flutter just still develop it. So the last year it was interesting announce that brought a lot of conversations because Google announced that Kotlin multi-platform now is officially cross-platform solution. And I've got a lot of questions. What will happen with Flutter now if Kotlin multi-platform is officially supported? But Flutter also officially supported cross-platform solution. So they are not competitors, yeah, because they have different purposes. It's also official answer by Google. But yeah, it's a really nice move for cross-platform development, the stable support of Kotlin multi-platform, because maybe when in future JetBrains will release Compose for iOS, in this case, maybe it will be a really nice competitor for platform for Flutter in UI part too. So we'll see. Kotlin multi-platform, yeah, it's really great.
That's a great point. That was the next topic that I wanted to discuss a bit, which is one of the biggest, I'm going to say for me, announcements of Google I/O was the release or the public release saying that Google supported Kotlin multi-platform, and we see new libraries now being giving that support. And before we started this conversation, I was just saying that I was really happy because yesterday or 2 days ago there was a release of the adaptive window that we can. The adaptive window where we have support for multi-platform, and we can basically compile our apps and run them. We can basically compile our apps and run them on Android and iOS. And just a minute. No. Okay. I'm holding it wrong. Hello? Mas continuo? Okay. Where was I? So yeah, it was introduced, it was announced the support for Kotlin multi-platform, which is great. And Sasha mentioned a really cool topic, or a really cool thing, which is sometimes we often say that one technology is better than the other, and this is never the case for us as developers. So technology depends on the product that you're going to do. It depends on your team, your background, and there's no biggest advantage here across Flutter, React Native, and so on. It depends on the team, and perhaps I'm going to start now with John. Do you have, okay. John is known for being, before we start, I have a question for you, John, which is, how are you able to tweet what's going to happen on Kotlin multi-platform before JetBrains?
Yeah, I think some of the JetBrains guys have given me a hard time about that over the years. Yeah, I think the answer is I clearly spend too much time on Twitter, too much time online. So, yeah.
And now the real question, John has a lot of libraries, a lot of samples out there built with Kotlin multi-platform, with Compose multi-platform. He's been doing this for 5 years.
Yeah, about end of 2018, I guess I started looking into it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's keeping this project updated. So it's really cool to see. If you look at the brand, at the history of the repositories, you can see how he evolved the libraries that he was using, how he evolved the logic. It's like a piece of history that should go to the National Museum one day. But my question here for you is, what made you choose Kotlin multi-platform, and after 5 years that you started doing that as a side project, you're still working on it, and now you're moving to work them even more.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I've been working as a software developer for, I think it's 34 years now. And over that period of time, and particularly on mobile over the last 15 years, I've sort of encountered or been sort of forced to, I guess, partake, if that's the right way of putting it, into various code sharing approaches. On mobile, sort of 10 years ago, I guess we would have done a lot of sort of C++ based code sharing. And I think from that perspective, when I came across KMP, as I said, in late 2018, it just sort of immediately appealed as this is the sort of first sane approach, both sane and pragmatic approach to code sharing on mobile in particular. Following on from obviously the development or the availability of Kotlin in general, I think everyone loves using Kotlin, and then when the approach to code sharing based on Kotlin came out, it was definitely something that was very attractive. And it was rough in those early days. As I sort of touched on my talk, I mean, I think there's over 1,000 libraries available now in KMP, at least I think. Back then there was maybe a handful. They were very rough and ready. The concurrency approach was very sort of hard to use, very limiting. So it's been very satisfying. It's been a steady increase in maturity over those 5 years. A lot more libraries. The developer ecosystem has improved. JetBrains have put a lot more resources into it. There's very few things you can't do now with Kotlin multi-platform. And in general, of course, the approach of Kotlin multi-platform is that you can dip into the platform whenever you need to anyway. And then I guess over the last year or so, the development of Compose multi-platform has been amazing. This is sort of my day job these days is developing a purely Compose multi-platform based application. So the lines are getting blurred. When we talk about KMP or CMP, it's very hard nowadays to sort of say, well, which is which? Is CMP kind of part of KMP? But yeah, it's as I said, it's sort of 5 years on. So I think we've got to a very mature stage in the ecosystem. It's not the kind of questions, the articles you see these days are not necessarily anymore about whether you should use it, but how you should use it, and various scenarios that it gets used in.
I don't know if anyone wants to jump in more on multi-platform. Okay.
I just wanted to mention the case about using Flutter or Kotlin multi-platform. We even did an experiment using both of them in one application. UI in Flutter, business logic on Kotlin multi-platform. It works. So the main question, why you should, but it works really. So native is just a layer between. But yeah, if you have already implemented logic with Kotlin, so probably it can be a case. Yeah. When you want to move your application to cross-platform, you can move business logic to Kotlin multi-platform and implement UI with Flutter. Why not?
Yeah, a really cool thing, on my opinion, of course, also in KMP, is that, it's for developing the business logic. It doesn't have the goal of sharing everything. You decide what you want to share, and you can use it with native, with Kotlin, or with Swift, or you can use it with Flutter. It's up to the development team or to the managers to decide what makes sense for them. I also wanted to talk a bit to Kinera. I think you've worked with React Native, right? Since we're talking about here about cross-platform solutions, can you give us a bit your input on React Native? Perhaps I should have started with asking, so here, who's working with Kotlin multi-platform? Can you just put your hands up? Okay. Who wants to start working with Kotlin multi-platform? Okay, nice. Who's working with Flutter? And who wants to start working with Flutter? I wasn't expecting that, but cool. Out of curiosity, who's working with React Native? Okay. I'm not working, I just want to see your hands.
I wouldn't be a lobbyist for React Native, to be honest. I worked on it for about 2 years, and it wasn't the best experience, but I think it works best when we're doing it with native and not entirely independently. If you have a part of your app that is really the same between, for example, Android and iOS. And the company that I was working for before had all of the checkout and the orders, all of that part that was really common between the two of them in React Native. But the rest of the app that is more user intuitive, like home, and all of the buying part of it was in native. And that's what gives the user that intuitive experience on a native device. Right? But then when it comes to things like, you're checking your orders, you don't really look for a experience. You're looking for the information. So it really depends upon what you're looking for in that particular feature. And in that case, you look at what you can do with it. I think it's not a one-for-all solution, especially with React Native. The performance does lag a little bit, so you really have to think about that balance between native and React Native. But just jumping in on the KMP discussion also in my current company, we're currently extracting some of the modules out to KMP. Like we have our domain API layer that is out in a separate module, and we're using it between iOS and Android for now. That seemed like a good first step. So it looks like something you can do step by step. It doesn't have to be all at once the same way that we do with Compose, right? So we can do step by step. There is a wide area of space that you have, a lot of lateral sort of movement that you can do in this space. So there are no rules, which gives you that thing where you can go half-seas on everything and then have a big mess of your app. But you can always, it helps you figure out what goes best, and it works. So that's the best part of it, I think.
Yeah, you touched a point that I wanted exactly to ask, and perhaps, I don't know if I'm asking too much, but so Marcel, Google now is pushing a couple of libraries to multi-platform, which is great. And I have a question. I've been having this question since I saw the first release, which is how, and I don't know how much you can say about this, but for instance, you're giving support to new technology, you're giving support to more platforms. How's the process of giving this support? So for instance, the view model or the window size that was released, how do you add these multiple targets? How you select this library, and how is the process of giving support for iOS, for desktop, for WebAssembly? Can you talk a bit about this process? So for instance, more people that have their libraries built for Android that can also give support for iOS, for instance.
Yeah, so basically there are two types of KMP support. That is the KMP compatibility and KMP support. Compatibility is basically we convert the library to make it run on common source sets on KMP projects. You can basically, Lifecycle is an example of KMP compatibility. You can put it there, and you still need to integrate that by yourself, or you need to use a library such as Navigation Compose from JetBrains, the multi-platform variant, to get this integration. And there is the KMP support, which is out of the box, such as Room. You can just add it to the project and it works. And actually, we don't know exactly which libraries will reach each type of support because we're still learning like what does make sense. There are conversations about should we actually provide integration with Swift UI directly from view model or not? How much support should we provide and all of that? That is happening, like how much commitment should happen this sense? Or we should just provide the APIs in multi-platform and let people integrate by themselves. From a tooling point of view, we do build our own artifacts for iOS and all other platforms except I think Wasm and JavaScript. That is still built by JetBrains on their fork. For the Android X libraries, not Compose. Compose, I think, is mostly built by JetBrains. And we do run like all the tests, everything internally by ourselves, and we test again all of these platforms ourselves as well. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if it's possible to also answer this, but so did you find the process of giving that support straightforward, or it involved more breaking something until you're able to give that support? Did you find it easy to give this support, or you spent through a lot of pain to give support to multiple platforms?
Yeah, for the libraries that I did convert to KMP, they were not straightforward because they were built for Java like 9, 10 years ago. So you do have all of these APIs designed from a completely different world and different APIs and all of that, like for XML view to UI to Kit or Java first. So it's more like a trial kind of thing. We just try to check the public API, try to figure out the things that we can convert easy, the things that we cannot, and we try to map them. We also, like, in the navigation, in the lifecycle libraries that we converted, the goal was actually to get navigation converted. So, like, what we normally do is we try to figure out what makes sense to go to multi-platform. We try to figure out what are the dependencies of this thing that we want to convert. For navigation was the lifecycle. And then we start to convert from the leaf, all the modules, up to the main one. Mm-hmm. And we mostly go learning on the way, because we try to plan ahead, like what is going to be the need for that library, but most of the time things will just break on the way. Like the Kotlin compiler will generate a bytecode slightly different, and now we need to figure out why they generate slightly different, and then we need to talk with JetBrains, open issues with them. Sometimes we need to fix that by ourselves. So it's more going, trying to figure out like how to approach that. And for Android X itself, we have this core principle of backward compatibility. Mm-hmm. So that is something that we need to keep in mind. It is not as easy as just dropping the old API and introduce a new Kotlin one. We need to always, maintain binary compatibility. We have a lot of tooling to check binary compatibility, and that's something that we don't bypass at all, like ever.
Okay, nice. Yeah, and you mentioned something that I think it's well worth mentioning here, and I don't know if you all agree with me, but for instance, since I've jumped in Kotlin multi-platform, JetBrains on the Kotlin Lang Slack has been amazing. They put a question, sometimes might not be even a smart question, and they answer it, and they're really trying to push things forward. And usually, if you open an issue, a ticket, they will reply to it and try to help you find a solution. That's pretty cool for someone that's trying a new technology to have that support. I was opening here Slido. Thank you. I'm going to start with the question with more votes. So, why is there no milk for the coffee? Okay. I don't know. We're going to try to see why. So the second one, will the future be Kotlin multi-platform, Flutter, or React Native? I think we've answered this a bit by saying that we don't have a magic ball. I don't know if anyone wants to say something. You want? Will the future be Kotlin multi-platform, Flutter, or React Native? If there is one of these technologies that will stand out, not the others. Do you want to? Okay.
In my opinion, so all of this technology will be in future. So because often business is make a decision which technologies will be used, not developers. And from business perspective, these different technologies are more suitable for different purposes. For example, if you have a project like that, support as many platforms as possible, so one technology is better than if a project need like more something native feeling and so on, maybe it's better native implementation. So, but the thing is that decision of what technology will be used is not only technology based. Is a business reason based sometimes. Which team do you have? How many people do you hire? What situation on the market and so on. And all of this technology is moving in a little bit different direction for different purposes and with different capabilities from business perspective. So I suppose all of them will be developed in the future and will be used anyway.
Okay, following our questions, there is one here that I really liked, which is, what kind of books are you reading? I think it's, what kind of books are you reading? I think it's a valid question. I don't know if it's technical or romance or thrillers or whatever, but I don't know, there is any technical book that any of you are reading or read that it's worth sharing with the audience?
I guess from my side, I'm always just trying to improve myself. So I always just pick up whatever books. So some people would recommend, like, there's a book called Clean Code. I think that teaches you how to write code with the mindset that when you write it now, this type of code, it needs to last a very long time. So you need to basically build future-proof type code, and the way that you approach certain decisions, the way you write your variables, the way you create your functions, all that stuff. So that's actually important, because that'll actually reduce code smell and help you have a code base that you can actually pass on to other people, and other people can understand the way you've written your code. Yeah, and then I guess just soft skills books as well. That's normally what I do as well. So the idea is to not just focus on tech, but also on your abilities as well. So if you want to branch out, maybe change your role to something else, from a tech lead to maybe you want to be a software engineer, those type of things. Yeah.
I think for me, I'm not much of a nonfiction reader, but I read Functional Kotlin last year, and I think that's really interesting. It might not be what you would use in everyday code, but I think just the understanding of how the same code that you write can be written in a different way, I think it's really interesting. That was definitely one book that I would recommend reading.
So I can recommend one book. It's not a technical one. Yeah, it's not a technical one. But what I would like to say, nowadays teams that develop products really often completely international, with people from different countries, different cultural background. So, and I read one nice book with name Cultural Map that and give you more understanding of people with different cultural background to work together better. So it's really insightful for me. It was,
yeah, for me it's exactly what Ahmed said. Like clean code for me was very, very important. I mean, it made me click in my head. Yeah, how to write software. I think we should focus on books that talk about fundamentals, not about a specific technology, because that changes over time. Now it's Compose, maybe, I really love Compose, but maybe later it will be Compose 2, yeah, who knows. And really understanding the fundamentals, how to write good code that can be maintained, I think is for me the key.
Yeah, not really too much. I guess I've sort of moved over time away from books a little bit to more articles. I guess that's the way we consume a lot of information these days. But I suppose one specific book, I mean, it's technical, I guess, is very good, that I definitely recommend is Kotlin in Action. A number of the JetBrains folks joined together to write it. So definitely, if you're not reading that already, I'd definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I would recommend the Philosophy of Software Design. Yeah, it's just a really quick book and easy to read, and it's very valuable. Like, it's about designing APIs and make it easier and better.
So perhaps going to the next question. We got a couple of questions about AI.
Dancing on the hood in the middle of the woods, I'm alone. My
Quick book and easy to read, and
most of them seem to be a bit worrying about the future of Android development, the future of programmers. So my question, the question here is, how can we leverage the power of AI in our role as Android developers? How can we improve? How you can be more productive with AI? And are we worried about our jobs? I don't know if.
I have the microphone, so I will continue. Yeah, for me, I think AI is a tool that is actually helping a lot, but depending on how you use it. Yeah, whenever I ask AI, let's say ChatGPT or BART or whatever, I don't get the answers that I want, and I continue asking and asking, this prompt engineering, how they call it, till I get something that still does not work. So for that use case, I think there's still a long way to go. But what really helps me, for example, when I'm doing development is when I get stuck. I try doing things and I like, okay, I'm out of ideas. Yeah, how can I continue with this? So then I start asking ChatGPT, Bart, whatever, and then I start getting this kind of enlightenment. Yeah, okay, I could also try this, and then sometimes it actually works. But yeah, just using code that is given to me, at least for Android, I don't know for other technologies, still there is some way to go. My personal opinion, of course. I don't know if somebody wants to say something else. Yeah.
We've been trying out testing Copilot for our team, and I think it's interesting because more contextually, like very small context in a file or so, it can help a little bit because it's just looking at that particular piece of code. But in Android, we're always cross-referencing and going back and forth from a lot of different things, which, like you said, is really hard for AI to, at least at this point in time, to be able to take over our jobs. But I think it's still helpful in terms of boilerplate. If you're setting up your files or if you're writing tests that are pretty repetitive, I think in those cases it does cut down on a lot of developer workload. And in that case, you can focus more on the things that really need your attention. So in that sense, in terms of sort of narrowing down what you can work on, it helps. But I think that's my opinion for now.
What I want to add, like first, come to see my talk after lunch. It's all about like how you can leverage your skill and your app about AI. But yeah, I think there are two separate things, like bringing AI as an assistant, like in your daily task, like it can help you a lot. At our company, we are using Copilot in Android Studio, and like even for writing tests, we gain a lot of time, especially to automate this kind of not easy, but like a long task sometimes. We gain much more velocity, and we can like find a lot of good use case about AI. Sometimes you need like to deport it on the server side, but with lots of tools like MLKit, MediaPipe, and or TensorFlow, you can do some really good thing on device. At our company, we take good advantage of MLKit, like to scan documents and send it as a MMS, for example. And a lot of also good like use cases on the server side, like to translate, transcript audio and stuff like that. So capture your need and then use the right tool to do it.
Thank you. We have here a question directly for you, Marcel. Can you tell us which tools do you use for binary compatibility tests? Or I don't know if it's something.
Yeah, so on Android X repo, if you clone it, we do have MetaLava integrated to that. So if you do a /gradle with a W wrapper, check API, you're going to run against the MetaLava binary compatibility checks. And if there is any difference, you're going to get the output of what has changed in the API. If I remember correct, we do run that against the JVM and the binary, the native ABI API. So basically, we check the API for both native and JVM. Yeah, and we use MetaLava. So I think MetaLava is an open source project, if I remember correct. So you can actually check online.
Thank you. There is a question here that as an Android developer, I really find it really interesting in the sense that I've went through this more times than I want to admit, which is, so Google is launching a lot of libraries nowadays. Once I counted that every 15 days, Google launched 77 updates on their libraries. So please start to sleep more and give us time to keep up with it. But the question here is, so since a lot changed, we went to architecture components, we went to Kotlin, to Compose. Now, the question, okay. So these sometimes mean that we're going to do big refactors over an app. So nowadays, Android was released in 2008, so we've got apps that exist for the past 10 years. So how can developers and companies keep fighting technical debts and keep refactoring an app, knowing that they need to implement features? Do you have, to all of you, do you have any recommendation how you deal with it, with your technical debt, with these new libraries that keep launching and sometimes you need to update our code to it?
Well, I can reply, basically on how to deal with technical debt, not about new APIs and all that stuff. Okay, so I've been doing consulting for quite a long time, so I've worked in several projects, different companies, and all of them have technical debt, but there are some projects in which there was much less technical debt as in others. And I think there were like mainly 2 points that distinguish these companies from those that have more technical debt. One of them is continuous refactoring, and the other one is not to use Scrum. Let me talk a little bit more about this. So without going into much detail, like continuous refactoring, okay? So when people hear about refactoring, they think about a big thing. Like you accumulate technical debt, and after a while, it grew up so much that you cannot make changes easily, so you have to do a refactoring. With continuous refactoring, it's different. Every time that you are implementing a feature, you are doing a small refactoring, like splitting one class into 2 classes, whatever single responsibility, moving methods around, and so on. And for that, you need a good testing strategy. But the problem is that in most of the companies, testing is not good, because you make some changes and then the tests break without reason because you are just refactoring. You are not changing behavior, But I don't want to go deep into this, but basically, continuous refactoring is one of the solutions. The second one is not to use Scrum. Because, I've been using Scrum in most of the projects, and I still have to see one project in which it works. In one of the projects with minimal technical debt, we were using extreme programming. Was awesome project, by the way. But the problem with the Scrum that I see is that, okay, you plan things for maybe, let's say, 2 weeks, and maybe the day before the sprint finishes, you are not done with that one ticket, but not too much left. Let's say that maybe in one more day you could finish it. Then comes the PO and starts putting pressure like, why don't you finish? Maybe we can remove the test, or maybe we can, instead of implementing the full feature, just split it and we do this in the next sprint. And of course, you as a developer feel the pressure and you say, okay, let's do it. In the end, you will never do it, or you will do it in 2 weeks, or in 3 weeks. And personally, I have much better experience with Kanban or with XP, and I think we should really talk to management if we can influence the way we work and we use these frameworks. Maybe I talk too much.
So to agree with Sergio as well, so there are kind of 2 approaches that we tend to take. The first one is to try and ensure that when you are then working on a feature and you do see, so we always tend to put a to-do, and a to-do always has to have a ticket or a task assigned to it. And whenever you're touching a piece of code and you come across this to-do, to try and address that, that way it's not going to linger for a long time. Then also, we as a team tend to set aside days. We call them chapter days because every competency is kind of like a chapter. So we then tend to set aside a complete day where we're working on features within the app. That way we're always continuously working on the project itself. We're not letting things just linger, because the more that you do it, then yes, it's actually going to start piling up. So the idea, like Sergio as well, to just continually try to improve your code as much as you can. Whenever you are actually adding a new feature, try and work on whatever it is, this technical debt that you might have had that you still need to address. We've seen that it actually does help. It might increase your time. So yes, when you're working in Scrum, you might then, your task, which is a 2, might end up being a 5 because you're now having to work on the test and so forth. But in the long run, you're actually going to have a healthy code base instead of one that's going to have issues that are just piling up over time.
Thank you. We received more questions that I wasn't expecting, so thank you for everyone. Unfortunately, we have a limit on our time slot. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for all your questions. Talk with us after this talk, during the breaks. We didn't answer to all the questions. Sorry about that. But we're going to still be here, so feel free to approach us. And thank you so much for being here and to attending this Fireside Chat. And thank you to everyone here that accepted the invitation to be here. Thank you.